Hi, this is Analytical Chick. I am coming at you to do a summer video. I did a video. I recorded it last night. I put it up this morning. So I put up this video about, essentially for people in federal prison, what are you in for? And this is tied to my ongoing coverage of the First Step Act. So I just want to kind of summarize the other video because it was so long. It was 51 minutes. It really didn't need to be that long. But I want to explain to you what I found in that video, what I came across, and basically be more straight to the point with this video. So what we found was that for federal prison, the security levels are minimum, low, medium, high, max, and supermax. So there was a category for low and medium, and there was another category for medium, high, and max. So there were some, when we went through, there didn't seem to be a difference between the mediums that were in low, medium, and medium, high. There wasn't really much of a difference. Now what we saw in the way of crimes, at the more minimum and low level, it was basically mostly a lot of tax related and fraud and that sort of things. As we got at low, I was starting to see some murders. Once we got into medium, there was much less fraud. The fraud was starting to be less of those that we were seeing in the notable crimes, or notable prisoners. I looked through various versions of by security level. I looked through and pulled up sample prisons, just picked up random prisons within those security levels and looked at what people were in for. So that's where we're coming up with this list of crimes. So we were seeing a lot of fraud and tax related, and then, like I said, I started to see murders on low level, and then as we moved into medium, there was some fraud but much less fraud, and it started to be more murders and gangs leaders. Now, one thing I want to point out is it wasn't really nowhere, not even low level, were we seeing your local, as John Miller called it in his one video, Tony with his dime bag, because dime bags of pot that he sold to get his kids Christmas presents. I did not see any notable prisoners of that. We saw, and I've did this another time that I wasn't recording. So what I've seen were there were also some another time that I saw without recording that were celebrities who tried to set up a gang or tried to set up a crime ring and they got caught. So that's more when you get into medium and high, you start to see, you're also, some of the notable prisoners were also celebrities, not mostly athletes, baseball players, football players, retired NFL players, and people that were in, like I said, retired NFL, retired baseball players. Some of those people, after they finished their time as professional athletes, I was seeing some of them that got into crime. So they would of course be listed as notable prisoners, but that also gives you an idea of what kind of crimes, just looking through it, as what kind of crimes people go into federal prison for. So it's a different character because I don't think your local prisons, your state prison, your county jail, I've known people who've gone to state and county or whatever. So you're low level for non-federal crimes, you're going to get shoplifters and stuff like that. We didn't see any of that kind of thing with federal crimes. So that's a difference between state and local type crimes versus crimes that get charged as federal crimes. So like I said, low level is a lot of fraud, tax related, tax evasion, tax fraud. They call it different stuff, but basically your fraud type, white collar, accountants doing hinky stuff, seeing a lot of that. And then even in low level, I started to see some murders, and then medium was murders. Now also the gang people, these were not like your run-of-the-mill gangbanger that like sold pot on a corner. These are like the founder of the Latin Kings. These are, you know, higher end gang leadership, cartel type people. And then as you get into high level and supermax, when you get into the max security, it's basically all gang leaders, terrorists, and also high level is mostly a lot of that. Murders, like there was somebody who murdered 21 people, you know. And the reason why I'm covering all this stuff is because these people are now going to be eligible to have time knocked off what they were sentenced to because of this First Step Act. So these are the kinds of people that you're talking about when you're talking about federal crimes. It's a different, you know, and everybody keeps using the examples that I didn't see. Like John Miller said, and everybody uses a defense, like, oh, you know, people shouldn't go to prison forever for dealing pot. And that's not what I was seeing at all. I wasn't seeing anybody who was in there for being like a low-level pot dealer. People who go to federal prison go for things like, as you see in front of you, fraud, tax-type related issues, murders. There were some people that were in a crime ring that were like stockpiling like bombs and guns and having standoffs with federal authorities. I think that was categorized under maybe domestic terrorism. You know, those kinds of people. Now also there's a clause in the First Step Act that I also wanted to mention, that they're trying to make it so that people have to be within 500 miles of their family. So I was looking on the other video for this map and I found it. This was the map I was looking for, where a map of all the federal correctional facilities. Now, if you look over on the left coast, upper left coast corner, you have Washington State and Oregon. You see you have, over there, you have, you know, one each. And then as you go over the like classic flyover state type area, you go all the way over to the bottom corner of South Dakota before you hit another prison, or also this one in Upper Utah. So I actually ran on Google Maps, and depending on how it's driven, the area in South Dakota is roughly about 1,500 miles from the area in Portland, Oregon, where there's another dot. I think that's Portland, Oregon. But that's what we're looking at in the way of distance. So, I mean, on the East Coast, it's probably no problem to get somebody within 500 miles. But you can see how spread out the dots are when you get into like the classic flyover area. Like even Nebraska, there's the bottom corner of South Dakota, and then there's nothing in the state of Nebraska. There's nothing in the state of Iowa. You know, you see like most of Kansas. It looks like it can be a little difficult. Like if you look at, there's a kind of a gap between New Mexico under Colorado. There's kind of a gap that looks like it might be a little tight squeeze to get people within 500 miles. And also, as I pointed out, you're also having an issue where people need to be in certain level of security. Somebody who needs to go into a max facility, there was one max and one super max in the whole country. So somebody who needs to go in a super max facility, you're not going to, I mean, maybe, but the chances are you're not going to be able to get them within 500 miles of their family. That's going to be difficult. So when I'm hearing this, I'm hearing spending more government money, and I don't like that. And you shouldn't either. If you're somebody who's watching my channel, I'm assuming you're not going to be fancying that. So that's basically, you know, the summary of my other video. You know, what is somebody in for when they go to federal prison? And it's a different characteristic compared to someone who goes to regular prison, like a state or county jail or whatever. They're not going in for, you know, shoplifting a tube of toothpaste or anything like that. They're going in for a different characteristic of crime. All right. Thanks everyone for stopping by my channel. I will see you all next time.
Oh, well, people need to be awake and they need to be awake and they need to be aware. They need to stand up against the stuff. Oh, well, people need to be awake. People need to be awake and they need to be aware. They need to stand up against this stuff. Oh, well,
and it's so politically engaged.
And it's so politically engaged.